live stream. Louder. Okay, welcome everybody to the 18th Keshe Foundation Health Teaching Workshop. My name is Rick Cram, I'll be your host today. Today the topic is the kidney, the transforming bank from GANS to liquid state of matter. And today, once again, we'll be hearing from Dr. Elia Kostova from the Spaceship Institute. And she'll be telling us all about the anatomy of the body and how the kidney works. And we'll find out more about how it transforms GANS into the liquid state of matter. And then we'll hear from Mr. Keshe as well, who will give us more information regarding his perspective on the science of the matter. Okay, Elia, are you ready to go there?
Yeah, hello everybody. It's me, Elia. Nice to be with you and the 8th Keshe Foundation Health Workshop. Today we'll discuss the function of kidney, like transforming bank from GANS to liquid state of the matter. And we start with the first slide. The first slide is a representation again of cavity in a human body. And the kidney, they are the part of how we call the star formation between two kidneys and bladder and two renal glands. They are situated in abdomen cavity and like a plane of human body, they stay behind the digestive system. So because of that, the BZ direction will be faced from top to down. And inside of that star formation, this is the star formation of our digestive system. Okay. And then we go to the next one. The next one slide is a representation of embryology of the kidney. So how you see on the left side of the slide, this is the embryo. And from the beginning, the kidney starts to form on the cervix area of the embryo. This is so close to the head. And that stage, this is the second, the 22nd day of the embryology. And after the development, the embryo part of the first kidney formation, what in Latin language we call pronephrons, starts to descend from the cervical area, it is your neck, to the caudal area, what is your end part of your spine. Actually, the beginning of the kidney formation starts from mesoderm and is visible for you in the middle picture. Outside, this is the neural tube. In the middle, this is the mesoderm layers. In the violet color, they are just organized in that picture. From that mesoderm layer, start formation of the first kidney part. This is the pronephrons. And when we follow the development, starts to form other part of the kidney, like epithelium cells, where they organize the structure inside of the kidney like caniculi and tubules. And to the end of the spine area in embryo starts to form first uretic part. And actually, to the end of embryo development of the kidney, two parts, they connect with each other and form the kidney of adult. So the journey of kidney starts from cervical area, neck of the embryo, so close to the head, and through the all embryology state descend to the end of the spinal area. See how even from the beginning, all important parts, what we call transforming system in the star formations and the hearts of the star formation, their origin so close to each other. In the same slide, on the bottom area, you see layering from the beginning of the mesoderm. In the middle, is the neural tube, which means that the kidney, they are so close, like a function and organization, also with the neural tube, is like a substance of the cells of the neural tube, because the kidney, like a liver, they contain a lot of functions for our body. And then during the descending through the nephritic duct, they connect first embryology state of kidney to uretic bud, and finally they combine these two structures and we get the complete structure of our kidney. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Next slide is again embryology state of development of our kidney. This is the more schematic view of journey of the seat of the kidney in cervical area in embryo to the caudal part of our spine area in embryo, and how the mesoderm and neuroderm, they organize each other. And finally, that part of mesoderm descending from head to bottom collect with other one part like uretic bud, and they form the kidney. On the right side of that slide, it's visible for you that the liver, heart, and the kidney, their origin from places in embryo where they are so close to each other. Also, all of these organs, they face each other, and in the same way, they face thalamus. Actually, all our hearts, what we call hearts in our star formations, their origin from mesoderm. Mesoderm, if you remember, I explained it to you that this is the transitional matter in embryo. So the heart, the liver, the kidney, they face in embryo state exactly the thalamus area. Okay, next slide is a video regarding the organization of star formation in our body like a flower of life. And during the video, you will see different positioning of star formation regarding each other. During that positioning, like geometric architecture point of view, between different star formations, matter organized in different geometrical figure. This is the same how you look at the platonic solid. So actually, positioning of different star formations in our body, even during development, they are able to organize the matter in different solid, platonic solid state. So regarding that, the kidney starts to form from neck area cervix area of the embryo and unfolding, and during the evolving of the embryo and during that process, actually the embryo unfold, open head and the cauda part, they unfold like a leaf, and matter between the star formations starts to organize itself in different shape. And how you see, during the embryology of kidney from cervix area, they descend to the cauda part of our spine to form the next one, star formation. In adult age, actually, that star formation has completely different shape regarding the beginning of the embryology. Okay, then we go to the next slide, 8. With 8th slide, I want to show you how when the kidney finally they form during our development, they start to position itself in different place. And how you see, it is formating, it is beginning of formation of the star formation, what is represented during the adult age. And regarding this positioning, we have different distance between the kidney and bladder. And also, we are able to have a different positioning between two kidneys to each other, and with the so common so common is when two kidney they are connect to each other with bridge. This is actually so interesting formation between two kidneys and bladder. On the right side, it is again more schematic view of representation of positioning between the kidney, bladder, and the renal gland. And how you know the star formation there is organized between the kidney, bladder, and the renal gland. And how you see, when we position different part of the formation regarding different part, positioning different part of the formation to each other, we will get the different organization of the matter between them. Okay, then we go to the next slide, 8. On the 8th slide, I want to represent you similarity in the embryo state, how we get the 3 layering of ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm. From mesoderm origin all the internal organs like a heart, liver, kidney. And regarding the Kiev technology, this is the transitional matter in organization of state of matter. If you see on the right side, this is the picture of the Mr. Cash representing the different state of matter. This is like principal matter, transitional matter, and core or outer core, how he calls. In the reactor is the same organization is on planet Earth, and actually all this state of matter, they are in vortex. They are organize themselves in vortex. Everything is actually in dynamic state all of the time. This is completely the same similarity. So actually mesoderm, how you see, this is the inner core of the reactor of Mr. Cash, and from that part origin the kidney, liver, and heart, what we've explained on the previous workshops. And really that is so important because the transitional matter The function of transitional matter is to accept, to reorganize or transform, and to resend the information to inner core. So because of that, even the name is transitional matter. That is the place where the informations of the different state of matter accept and reorganize. Is mean when you accept the state of matter, that part of the matter, transitional matter, reorganize that state in the different state of matter regarding what is a need of inner core and vice versa. Take the information from inner core and resend to the outside. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation of the urogenital system. This is kidney, bladder, and ureter. How you see they form exactly shape of triangle. On the top of the kidney, this is a renal gland. They have a shape of pyramid. And this is not by coincidence. Every one of you know the pyramid. This is the shape where the matter just conservate. Actually, the function like geometrical figure of a renal gland is to conservate the state of matter inside of the kidney. Is mean kidney accept the matter state, transform the matter state, and transcend the matter state out of the body through the whole urogenital system, ureter, bladder, and the matter go out. And on that sense, the renal gland, like that shape, there just preserve the state of matter to be on that part of the body and to not go out and to go just in other way. Okay, on the right side, this is anatomical picture of the kidney and all part of the kidney, and how you see you have a cortex. This is like outer core. And then you have a medulla. Inside of the medulla, this is different pyramidal structure of the substructure of the kidney, and even the name is the renal pyramid. And inside of renal pyramid, you have a renal papilla and representation of all the vascularization inside of the kidney from artery part and from vein part. And it is the same similarity like a liver. You have a separation in vascularization of the kidney. You have two main branch of the renal artery and of the renal vein, and they cover completely all the renal pyramids, because the most important function of the kidney is to transform the matter from the blood to organize formation of the urine. That's why the vascularization of that organ is so important. Okay, then we go to the next slide. On the next slide is visible for you 3D structure of the kidney and the substructure renal pyramid. It's exactly the 3D structure is representing the pyramid again. So what is mean? This is the place where we just collect and reorganize the state of matter. In the middle of the slide, this is the vascularization of the kidney, all artery and vein part, and how you see the shape. This is the same like our lungs. So the shape of the kidney and our lungs, they are completely the same, and representation of vascularization is on the same way. What is important, because in that star formation we accept the state of matter from our blood and to organize the matter to the liquid state. In the lungs, we accept the gas state of matter and organize that state to the GANS state. Actually, all the lungs in all the star formations, how we call them lungs, this is the transforming place of the matter. This is the place where we convert the state of matter to different state of matter. They have the same shape. And actually the tip of the lung, they face at the head, because the state of matter and the BZ point facing the head and the tip of the kidney is completely in opposite way. On the right side is visible for you the capillary, how cross the tubular place. The same picture is in lungs, where they cross the mediastinum and the area around the alveolus. So we have the repetitive model again in organization of the fields and state of matter in our body. Then we go to the next slide. So the next slide is its representation of the smaller shape of the kidney and the smaller substance of the kidney. This is the glomerule. And actually, each kidney contains more than 1 million glomerule inside. And how you see the glomerule, this is the net of capillaries. But in kidney, the net of capillaries contain only artery part. This is completely like a globe, and the net of capillary inside. In the next slide, this is the laser microscopic view of the glomerula, and how you see this is the so similar organization of matter like our brain. All the pictures in the next slide, they represent the shape of glomerula. This is the capillary net. But if you don't know, you may think this is our brain. So we are able to notice that we have again similarity in organization of matter state in our body. And actually, two hemispheres in our brain, they are feeding system, transforming system for thalamus. This is and thalamus, this is the representation of the heart system, our lungs, two hemispheres of the brain and kidney, they have the same organization of matter. And this is not by consequence. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation of the capillary inside of the glomerula. This is orientation of the each arteriole like in space, and how you see the same orientation, how have inner ear. So we have again repetitive model like organization of matter in the space, like between the ears, inner ear, labyrinth, and glomerula in our kidney. They have exactly the same shape. And even in energy anatomy and Chinese medicine, the ears, they are sensor organ of the meridian of kidney and bladder. Okay, and then we go to the next slide. The next slide is representation of glomerula and the capillary net around the alveolar sac. So how you see, they are completely similar. But different is that the net around the alveolar sac have artery and vein part, but the glomerule have only artery inside, it's not venous part. Okay. The next slide is a more schematic representation of the whole construction of the glomerula. Actually, we have two different parts and two different kinds of nephrons in our kidney. And we'll be speak more about the medulla kind of the nephrons because they are more important like organization and transforming the matter more visible for you to understand how the kidney reorganize the state of matter. So feeding system for the glomerula, this is the artery, and how you see the branch of the artery go inside of the Bowman capsula. And we have efferent and efferent arteriole. From efferent, the blood come inside, circulating through all the capillaries and go out from every arteriole. And the core, this is the Bowman capsula. After the Bowman capsula, start different kind of tubules with different shape regarding their function. And how you see, the south pole of the Bowman capsula and the north pole of the Bowman capsula, they face horizontal line. And for all the glomerulus inside of the nephrons, the Bowman capsula south and north pole, they are facing horizontal line. They are not facing up and down. On the right side of the slide is a more schematic view of the construction of all the nephrons like a Bowman capsula, different levels of the medulla, cortex, outer medulla, inner medulla, and how the different kind of tubules organize inside of the construction of the kidney. And even the kidney itself represents the layering model of the reactor. And then we see the same representation inside of the glomerule. So all over we are able to find this similarity. Okay, and then we go to the next slide. On that slide is visible for you organization inside of the glomerule. So when the arteriole made the capillary net, then all the capillary net is covered from Bowman capsula. Bowman capsula is actually the filtering membrane and have so specific composition. The composition is from endothelial cells, from the basal membrane, and from so specific for the Bowman capsule cells, podocells. And because of them, and how you see on the right side is visible for you, that they have specific positioning. Again, this is the question of positioning. And because of that positioning to each other, they organize the space inside of the bound capsule in different shapes. Also, the structure of the wall is fenestrated of capillary. If you remember the previous workshop, we spoke about the fenestration. After the capillary, we have the basal membrane. This is one more layer. And above the basal membrane, we have podocells. And podocells, they are so specific cells. They are able to move. And because of that movement, they organize the sliding between them legs. And because of that sliding, they form different kind of pores inside of the Bowman capsule. And because of all, it is no defense mechanism, but somehow it is, of the Bowman capsule and the fenestrating of the capillaries, only molecules where they are less than 3.5 nanometers, like in diameter, they are able to pass through that barrier from a blood flow to the filtering place of Bowman capsule. More than 3.5, they are not able to cross that barrier. And because of that shielding of different layers, actually the blood flow is protected from losing the important molecules out of the body. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is more representation of positioning of the podocells to each other, and how you see this is so similar positioning of the microtubules in the tail of the spermatozoid. Actually, their movement and their positioning organize themselves and produce energy part. And because of their positioning and sliding mechanism of them legs, they form different type of holes in the membrane of the Bowman capsule. On the bottom of the slide, you see the microscopic view of the glomerule and microscopic view directly of podocells with them legs. See how they have a specific legs, and their legs, they slide to each other. This is sliding mechanism is so common for our body. Sliding mechanism between the structures. Okay, then we go to the next slide. With the 19th slide, I want to represent you different kind of movement of podocells and them legs, how they move and positioning to each other in different geometrical view, and because of that, they form different walls between them. Even the walls have different kind of shape, and regarding that, they are able to transcend molecules with different shapes and different size. This is really so amazing what nature done with our organism, with different mechanism, what we use to transform the metastate in our body. And actually that sliding mechanism on the same way is represented in our bones on our skull. So our thalamus, how I explained it to you before, is fed from the foods directly what our two hemispheres accept from environment, and how you see the shielding mechanism of our skull. We have again the slight mechanism between the bones. The same repetitive model we have here in organization of the podot cells in Bowman capsule. Even two hemispheres, they have the same shape and form like the capillary net inside of the Bowman capsule. So with our two hemispheres, we accept the state of matter on foods, and two hemispheres organize that state of matter to the GANS state and feed the thalamus. In the kidney, we accept the liquid state of matter and organize to the GANS and retransform to the liquid, and that liquid go out from our body. So just this is the different part of our body accept different state of matter, organize that state of matter to the other state, and resend to the next part. That's why it is so important that most of inner organs, when they are the part of our body where we receive and reorganize the state of matter origin from the mesoderm. What for our embryology is transitional state of matter. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation and comparison between the glomerula and bone capsule and the bones, actually the spongy part of the bone, and how you see and you remember that the spongy part of the bone organization of the lamina, they are on the same way of fenestration. This is the same fenestrational pattern how you have in the capillary and the tubules in the bone capsula, inside of the glomerule, inside of the nephron. And actually on the right side, the picture is not from the bone. The picture is from the tubular part in our nephrons. And how you see this is so similar to the cross-section of our bone. Actually, in our spongy part of the bones, we accept and filtering our lymph, how Mr. Kesh said, and transform the matter to the GANS state, but from lymph. But in our tubular part and capillary part in our nephron, we are filtering our blood and accept the fluids from there, transform them, and organize them to the GANS state and vice versa. But organization of the part of the body, like a bone and like a capillary or tubular part of the nephron, is the same. Okay, and then we go to the next slide. So the next slide is the representation how actually works our glomerula. So important for the function of the glomerula is this organization of the different kind of pressure inside. And because we have different pressure inside and outside, is form gradient between that pressures. So it's important to know what is the meaning of hydrostatic pressure. The hydrostatic pressure is come from equilibrium of fluid between two parts. So the liquid try to find the equilibrium state between two parts through some wall, capillary or tubule. That kind of pressure is correlated to force of gravity. It is actually pushing. If you fill the balloon with water, and water pull the walls of the balloon out. And you have here two kinds of hydrostatic pressure. One comes from the blood flow through the artery part. It is regarding like 55 millimeter mercury. When it goes inside of the glomerula, starts to be opposite of the hydrostatic pressure inside of the Bowman capsula, and they have a difference. So hydrostatic pressure from the blood, pushing the blood out from the capillary wall through the filtering place of Bowman capsula. And because of that force, inside of the Bowman capsule starts to form two other forces. This is the hydrostatic pressure inside of the Bowman capsule, what is the 15 millimeter mercury, and the other one, what we call the oncotic pressure, and this is formed because of the protein inside of the filtering area. And actually the oncotic pressure is related of pulling the matter out. So it is work more like a spunk force, so pull inside the walls. And actually because the hydrostatic pressure inside of the capillary, which is bigger, this is 55 millimeter mercury, cause the two more pressures which is opposite to it. This is the hydrostatic pressure inside of the Bowman capsule and the oncotic pressure inside, and they form the mechanism of exchanging the materials between the wall of the capillary and the place inside of the Bowman capsule. And they form the gradient, what is the 10 millimeter mercury. And if you remember, the same mechanism in our lungs is the same gradient what they form, more or less 10 millimeter mercury in different levels of exchanging the gases in our lungs from top to the bottom part of our lungs. So even the amount of gradient is mostly same in our body. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a video just to be more visible for you how the blood flow go inside of the glomerula and how filtration of the blood starts and finally form the urine. I probably have some kind of delay. Okay, so you see just blood go inside of the capillary net, and directly because of the difference between the pressure inside of the glomerule and Bowman capsule starts the filtering of the molecules. They are organized in flow inside of the tubule, and during the tubule different kind of molecules go out from the wall, and because of the positioning of positives they go out in that small fenestration in the Bowman capsule. All the time the positive ions go first, like sodium, then following from the negative ions like chloride, and because of that they start to form different osmolarity in different level of our medulla. You see how the positive go out and then the negative. This is really important because sodium attracts the chloride. Okay. So the next slide is a representation of different function inside of the nephron and glomerula. The first we start with the filtration of the materials from the blood flow to the Bowman capsule, and how I told you, because of difference of pressure inside of the blood flow and Bowman capsule and fenestration of the Bowman capsule, different kind of materials go inside of the filtering area. Then we have different kind of functions what start in different part of the nephrons. This is the reabsorption, secretion, and excretion. We have reabsorption when the particles come from the tubules back to the blood flow. We have secretion when the particles come from the blood flow to the tubules again, and excretion when the liquid go out from urinary system. Okay, then we go to the next slide. Next slide is a representation of all that function inside of the nephron. Different part of the tubules have different kind of function regarding where they are placed in the cortex or in the medulla. And how you know? Because we have layering inside of the kidney, like a cortex, medulla, and inner medulla. This is again a representation of the state of matter. So you are not surprised that different kind of elements, they are secrete or absorbed in different part of the tubular system. From the beginning, start filtering of the water, of the sodium, of the chloride, of the bicarbonates, of the hydrogen, urea, glucose, amino acid, some drugs from the blood flow to the Bowman capsule. And then, from the beginning of the tubular system, what we call the proximal tubule, from the tubular system to the intestinal area and again to the blood flow, start reabsorption of the nutrients, of the sodium, and when sodium go out, the chlorine all the time following him, water and bicarbonates of them place from the interstitium inside of the tubular system go secretion of the hydrogen and the different kind of drugs or toxic molecules, but they're inside of the interstitium. Then from the cortex area, the tubular system go deeply inside of the medulla. That is the place where start to concentration of urine. And that place of the tubular system we call the loop of Henle. The meaning of the loop of Henle is to concentrate the urine, but through forming the gradient between the salty state and the liquid state because of the osmosis of water and sodium and the chlorine. From the beginning, water starts to be reabsorbed from the tubular system in the interstitium. That's why the urine starts to be more concentrated and the salty state of the environment increases. And because the salty state increases, is start to induce the process of penetrating through the wall, the natrium and the chlorine, because all the time our system needs to be in homeostasis state. Again, the tubular system go up, and how you see only in cortex area we have exchanging the hydrogen and potassium. When water go out, the sodium and chlorine and bicarbonates. So ever when we have reabsorption of sodium, chlorine following it, and ever we have secretion of hydrogen, the kalium go with it. It means potassium. So even in a working place in our cells, how you saw the previous workshop, we have so close relation between the hydrogen and potassium and between the sodium and chlorine. When we form the previous urine, that all liquid go inside of the collective duct to the finalization of the concentration of the urine. From the beginning, we filtering is more than 180 liters of the liquid of our body, but only like a final urine, we get 1 or 2 liters. All the water and elements inside, they are on the process all the time of reabsorption and secretion. That's why we are sustainable like a organism, and we are not losing our water so suddenly. We organize the liquid state of our body in so specific and harmonic manner. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is its representation again, why we have secretion and absorption in different elements regarding the levels of the kidney, like a cortex, outer medulla, and inner medulla. It is because we need to organize the gradient in osmosis. And how we see, we start from 300 milliosmoles and we reach 1200 in inner medulla, where we get the concentrate urine state, or is mean the full with elements inside and less of water. And then when the tubular systems go up again to the cortex, starts the homeostasis process to equilibrate the state of osmotic pressure inside of the inner medulla, where go to the outer medulla and cortex. And how you see they're on the line, they're completely equal. It means the mechanism inside of our kidney, this is all the time to make the gradient between the elements inside of the liquids, like milliosmoles, and gradients between the pressures inside of the glomerular capsula. And because of that gradients, we have flow and organization of state of matter. Okay, then we go to the next slide. The next slide is a representation of the components of the final urine. Actually, the 95% of our urine is water, and only 5 is different kind of components. On the right side of the slide, you see the percentage of different components inside of our urine. And urea, this is the state of ammonium composition. So mostly the toxic substance from our body, they go out from our kidney through our urine. So actually, our kidney, they are so good representation of exchanging the different state of matter, and they work exactly the same manner how the Mr. Cash represent in his model of the reactor. Could you please, Rick, play the video on the next slide? If you have questions, please ask me. Thank you.
Thank you, Elia. Thank you, Elia. Do we have any questions from the Skype call or GoToMeeting at this point? I have a question. You mentioned we showed the reactor in that last video and the potassium added. Could you explain a little bit about the role of potassium in the kidney?
Yeah, the role of potassium and hydrogen is the one of the buffering system what the kidney have. In the same mechanism you have in the wall of the stomach when it is regarding the buffering between the acid and alkaline state. So ever when you have the buffering in pH level, this is between the hydrogen and the bicarbonates, potassium is involved in it. Do you understand? So the potassium, hydrogen, and the bicarbonates, this is the buffering system regarding the pH level of our body. I just made my explanation more like a summary because it's really so complicated, our buffering system and function inside of the kidney. My intention was to show you the repetitive model of the reactor shape, and how different part of the star formations, they're even close to the microscopic view, like 2 hemispheres, 2 lungs, 2 kidneys, and the functions inside. But regarding where they're positioning in our body and how they face each other like star formations, they have different type of exchanging of matter. And regarding that in molecular level, they are represent with different elements. And how you see for our lungs, we are more speak about the CO2 and oxygen. Here we speak more about sodium, chlorine, potassium, and hydrogen. In the stomach, it is the same. It is regarding which state of matter we accept with that star formation, what is the purpose, to which one state of the matter we're supposed to transcend and transform what we take in. And exactly in the molecular level, it is representational with different ions and buffering systems. Actually, everywhere what we have the buffering system is because we transform the state of matter. Do you understand?
And it seems like the heavier elements are used in the lower organs, let's say, because it's
because
a
we
harder
take
job to do.
and abdomen area is the so heavier place because we take in mostly all of state of matter inside. So with our cavity, cranial cavity, we accept fluids. With our thoracic area, we accept fluids and gas. But in our abdomen area, with 2 star formations, we accept through mouth, through nose, all of the state of matter. So we're supposed to have all the system available to transform that state of matter to the GANS and vice versa. Do you understand? So here we have no exactly functionality of that place like 2 star formations. They convert all the state of matter. So this is a presentation of all buffering system inside.
Okay, there's a question from the live stream. How does the body filter carbon monoxide?
Yeah, this is filtering so easy because of the bicarbonate. We're supposed to imagine the molecules like fields, they are all, and these fields is like you see the 3D model of the carbon monoxide or carbon dioxide, and this is because of the organization of the atoms inside of the molecules in some kind of geometrical figure in space, but it's the same organization have the fields of that molecule and the GANS of that molecule. And they have a connection between different single GANSes inside of the GANS molecule. And you are able to connect or disconnect single gases inside. And our body not accept the molecule like a molecule, accept the single part of that molecule inside. Do you understand? So for our body, it is the same, that is the CO2 or 2 oxygens with carbon, because 2 oxygens with carbons is explanation for us what body do and how much oxygen needs to transform the carbon. Or if we need only 1 oxygen for transport the carbon, it means that is the part of the body more adjustable to that function. If we need more oxygen, it means that is not exactly that the part what supposed to reorganize the carbon, because the oxygen is the tracing GANS for us, trace the road where some other GANS supposed to go. Do you understand?
Partially, let's say. There's a lot to understand about this, a lot more about the body than I ever expected to encounter. Thank you very much for all these explanations. It's amazing how clearly you can present this fairly complex, medical type material.
Yeah, you're welcome. It is really so easy when you know precisely how everything works, because everything is completely the same. Just is adjustable because of function. And then in the macro level, take other shape. But in the micro level, this is the same how you see. It is the same organization of matter in the micro level. But regarding the environment, the macro level change. This is the same how you see on the video of the Tree of Life, because everything is moving like formation inside. Because of that, the matter take finally different shape in macro level. But in micro level, everything is one.
Everything is one. That's a good way to maybe to end this part of the broadcast, and maybe we should move into Mr. Kesh.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Elio. Dr. Elia Kostova there. Mr. Kesh, are you available
Yes.
in the background? Is your audio team allowing you to talk now?
It seems like they are busy with other things, other mischiefs, so I can do some work. Thank you very much, Dr. Elia. It was a fantastic description of the anatomy of body, and as usual, very highly explained in details from a doctor's point of view and biological point of view.
You're welcome, sir. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. From the structural point of view, from the magnetic gravitational point, as we build on the knowledge week by week, if you go back to the original discussions and explanations to do with the work of the brain, the work of the heart, the work of the lungs, the function and the purpose of the kidney is in fact and totally dependent, and kidney has been developed by the body of the man to support the function of the brain. If we go back to the beginning of the teachings and the explanations, we explained that the purpose of the lung was to convert matter which arrives in a GANS state to energy, plasmatic energy, as a gravitational magnetic field. As I repeat again, when we speak in the terminology of the plasma, we're speaking about gravitational and magnetic field, not just a magnetic field or energy as is the terminology used normally. So the lungs convert the matter which enters as a GANS into energy, which this energy in turn is absorbed and partially, as we explained last time, stored in the liver as for only to be delivered to the brain. As we explained from the beginning, the lymphs are the feeding part of the physicality, and the blood is the feeding part of the energy to the brain, which is the emotional part of it. The job of kidney is exactly the reverse. Whatever energy which has been delivered by the lung to the blood and used and sent to the brain, and by the emotional part and the physical part of the brain used, and whatever which is not used, which is not needed, goes back to the blood, then this energy, plasmatic form, if it's not needed in the blood circulation, is delivered to the liver. If it can be stored, it's kept there, and then it's delivered to the kidneys to be filtered out, that there is more space in the form of energy availability that it can be absorbed by the blood when it goes back to the lung to be charged up or to be filled up to go to the brain. So, as Dr. Elia explained as well, the structure of the kidney is a copy structure of the lung in reverse. Lung converted the matter into energy in a plasmatic form for the blood to be taken to the brain. And once this energy is not needed, or there is a surplus, or there is lower in the strength than the brain needs, comes back to the kidney, and then this energy in a plasmatic magnetic field form, added to the energetic magnetic field form of the matters, like potassium, calcium, or whatever, converts the GANS state of the matter into the matter, and then is discharged into the bladder. So one of the mysteries of how GANS converts back to become a matter to be discharged is, as Dr. Elia explained, all the filtering and everything else, but in fact is by the addition of the emotional energy which is not needed in the blood, which in the confinement of the nano layers of the piping and tubings of the kidney convert the GANS into a matter state, and it gets discharged into the bladder. In the teachings of the energy development and other parts of the technology, if you have understood by now, you can convert a GANS into a matter by increasing or adding or taking gravitational magnetic field, plasmatic field to it. When you produce GANS, when you put two plates in a container, you take the energy out and you light a LED light or whatever. You release the GANS. But if you want to release the GANS back to a nano state and back into a matter, you have to put that energy back. That's how a state of energy, GANS, converts back itself into matter state, through gravitational magnetic field energy. And this energy is supplied by the blood from the surplus of what is not needed by the brain. So, as liver, if you look at the structure of the liver and the structure of the kidney, you see it's exactly the same. It's got cavities, it's got certain shapes that creates a gravitational magnetic field as in a surplus to be stored or kept, and at the same time to be added to the matter to become, to the GANS of the matter to become matter to be discharged. This is the way of the conversion. Go back on understanding of the intestine when we spoke about it a couple of weeks ago. No food ever passes the layers of the intestine. No potassium ever passes. It's the gravitational magnetic field of the whatever you digested passes the wall, adds to the lymph, and stays in that state. And as we explained, in the intestine, every section has a different nano-layer coating, a compression or pressure, that is magnetic gravitational, which allows extraction of certain materials from what is going through it. The same is the same with the pipes within the kidney. The pipes, which Dr. Elia explained, this is the part where the sodium is extracted, this is the part where chloride is extracted or whatever, is the same process. All the pipes within the structure of the body of the man, even the pipes in the kidney, are nano-coated. And each nano-coating is like a copper nano-coated or zinc nano-coated, or the rest have gravitational magnetic field, different gravitational. This is what we explained in the Chinese session today. So these nano layers, these conditions in the pipes, in the walls of these tubes, create gravitational magnetic field which extracts like sodium or potassium. And this is how the material works and how the system works. Understanding that every tube is nano-layered. Dr. Elia explained about the sliding, that how they slide or they push. The sliding should have been very clear to all of you by now how it happens. As all the organs, all the pipes, all the tissues, even the skin of a muscle is made of the GANS material, we've seen in our nanotechnology that two nanowires cannot be welded. They slip against each other because Coulomb's barrier does not allow it. These are magnetic plates. Very much like a monotrail in trains in Japan. There are magnetic field sheets that they can never come in touch with each other. But as they rub with each other, they release energy. It's like the energy of the sun and the earth. When they rub against each other, create light on the upper atmosphere and the heat. So the sliding of the organs in the whole structure of the body is due to the nanostructure and GANS structure of the material. Then you understand why kidney works the way it is. It's not the reverse osmosis. It's actually each nano layer part of the tubing has specific gravitational magnetic field which tunes to a specific material. In the last question, somebody asked, what about CO? Monoxide, carbon monoxide. The reason the man dies because of carbon monoxide is that in our kidneys there is no nano-layer section which can extract CO. If we put or adopt a section in the pipe that can create gravitational magnetic field of carbon monoxide, the body will extract it like everything else. But in the process of evolution, we have never allowed this to happen. So the body cannot extract this material, the blood becomes saturated of it, and that's what it leads to death, because the carbon becomes diamond structure in the blood and it creates a resistance that nothing else can be added if you go to this understanding of the behavior of the carbon and oxygen. You create a diamond structure which cannot touch to it. And at the same time it does not absorb energy, and therefore the death is very fast. In the carbon monoxide, the physicality dies after the emotional part. Because the emotional part does not receive the energy it needs, which gets from the blood. So its gravitational magnetic field bypasses or superpasses of the energy of the what you call the physical part, and it blocks itself and disconnects itself from physicality. The destruction is not the plan. It's just that in our body, in our kidneys, if we had a section which was nano-layered and its gravitational magnetic field was of CO, we would have stood CO2. This is the same system as poisoning. In poisoning, in our tubes, we don't have facility for conversion or extraction of nanolayers in the strength of the poison. In the coming time, these systems will be developed. You don't need to take anti-poison. Only thing is, you have to create a filter which stands gravitational magnetic field of the poison. So you measure the strength of the poison in the blood, and that's all it needs to be done. If it's the same and you have it, you don't get harmed. As they say, cobras never bite each other, because both carry the same strength poison. A cobra bites anything else, they die, because they don't have that high power energy material, what we call poison. They fight physically to show their domination, but they never, in the process of fighting, bite each other, because it has no effect. It's the same with the body of the man. If we allow our body to have or behave or add a part to it, it can be filtering anything. This goes back again why a lot of us goes back on dialysis machine. In the coming time, Keshe Foundation has done some research on this field, where we mimic and create gravitational magnetic field of the materials which are in the blood. So the system, as it goes through, it transfers everything back, transforms it across the system into the machine. You don't need to go and put injections or needles and do the transfer. You can make system gravitational magnetic field which do the filtering. In space there is a need for such a thing, and that's why we teach it and that's why we done research on it. If you look at the structure of the kidney, the structure of the kidney is a replication and copy exactly of the brain. Because brain depends on kidney to make sure it cleans out the energies, plasmatic magnetic field energies in the blood system, that it can survive. And this is why kidney is one of the few organs which has its brain sitting on top of it. You call it the renal gland, as Dr. Elia showed us. Glands are part of the brain system control. And that's why it sits on top of it. It's such a crucial operation that it needs its own gland, which means the brain does not trust the physicality to do the job. It's a substation from the master, which is the emotional part. And that's why each section has its own control. And if you look at the structure and you cut it through, you see the shape of the brain and the shape of the kidney. Exactly the same. The reason being is that each layer of kidney, as you go from outside to inside, it's a copy of the gravitational magnetic field, the strength, structure of the brain. Each layer is responsible for a certain strength to extract. Not necessarily the material, but extract the material in conjunction with plasmatic magnetic field energy in the blood, that they can use those to mix it with the matter in the GANS state to become a matter that it can be extracted from the body. So in the future, when doctors and scientists look at the structure of the brain and look at the structure of the kidney, they will see matching point to matching point. Which part of the kidney extracts which energy from which part of the brain. And you find out it goes exactly the same inside out. Because even the curvature is important. Because that curvature creates, like your reactors, half-dome reactors, a specific gravitational magnetic field in the whole structure from the center to outside. And The energies which are used by the emotional part are much more stronger and finer in the strength, very spread. So you need that to be done in the center of the kidney. On the arms and legs, outer shoulders and the fingers are operated and controlled on the outer boundary of the brain. And that process of the energy extraction is done on the outer boundary of the kidney too. You have a left and a right, the same as the brain. Each kidney is responsible for operation of one side of the brain. And if one fails, it has the capability to support the two. Because that's why it has a totality figure of the brain. It's not halfway cut. I have written papers, I've given discussions about the operation of kidneys. Nobody should be on dialysis machine and nobody should die of a kidney failure. Once now we understand the operation of the GANS and the GANS, in a very simple form, you can add machines, you don't need to go to the kidney. You just can add a machine onto the arm where the major blood vessels pass, or the leg, and create the extraction from the skin. It works, I have tested on it, and it's very feasible. And in the near future, we show such operation here in Italy. All we need is to create the gravitational magnetic field and conversion to the matter state once it's out, that you can extract it. The operation of the kidneys is the same way controlled by the operation of the lung. Because each lung has connection to each kidney in what is delivered and what is expected to come back and how much has been delivered. And this is job of the renal glands on top of the kidney. In very much is a non-neural connection, plasmatic gravitational magnetic field. These glands sense, receive what has come in and what is on its way and what is expected to be done for the kidney to be ready to adjust for itself to extract on arrival. They don't wait till arrive. They are programmed what is on its way, what has been absorbed, what has come in, and the balance to come out. So, in so many ways, the body of the man will never exist if there was no kidney. Because the function of kidney is not to extract materials. If it was supposed to extract materials, we would have never happened, because our body has not the capability to reject GANS in a liquid state as is in the blood. The conversion only happens from the GANS to the matter to the liquid when the energy from the brain, emotional part and physical part, through the blood are delivered in a specific condition in conjunction with the creation of nanomaterials in the tubes to convert the GANS into matter. It's a reversal of what you do in your plates. You have the plates, you create a salt, you produce GANS. Now you receive the GANS, you have to convert it back into the matter that you can dispose of it. And in the future, when the scientists test, not all the material in the urine is rejected as a matter. It's partially rejected in the GANS state, especially nitrogen. Nitrogen, majority of it, even though it looks like a matter state, is mainly in the GANS state. The pressure is an important condition for changing the GANS into a matter state. The same thing happens in the bigger intestine. In the bigger intestine, when the pressure is built up, this converts the GANS into a gas, and what we pass as a wind. And that's why even in the body of the man, in a bladder, you get the bladder pressure. The pressure is in that point when the GANS comes in and changes part of the material into the gas state. But it's a controlled how much to create the pressure that you can pass the urine out of the body. It's a controlled pressure system. It's exactly the same. And that's why you feel the pressure, because the gas in the GANS state converts itself into a gas, into the nano state, and now that's physical. You feel it and you have to go. And it releases itself in a conversion in energy, which is like an electric conversion in the energy state of the plasmatic to the brain that the bladder is full. The whole process has to be understood. If we had no brain, we would have had no need for a kidney. In so many ways, the composition and the structure of the kidney, as we've seen with Dr. Elia, is a copy of the brain, and it's a copy of the lung, and a copy of the liver, because all four of them have one job. Use of plasmatic magnetic field energy, not solid state. And in cases, one converts one to one, and in some cases, one stores the other one, and vice versa. And as it was shown, these four organs are born and brought up together at the same time, because from the beginning, one needs the other to do. Even as a fetus, when it starts growing, the kidney and the liver and the lung which appears, they need each other to be able to function, otherwise it cannot be done. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. There is a question from live stream. Mr. Kesh once said diabetes is related to pressure of blood vessel in the kidney. How is it related? Mr. Kesh, please give us more on that. Yes, about diabetes, diabetic, how that's related to the pressure of the blood vessels in the kidney. Can you discuss that a little bit?
Diabetic, yes, no problem. Diabetic, the diabetes, first of all, is controlled by the glands above the kidney. But diabetic is emotional condition, and that's why diabetic is connected to the blood. Diabetic 1 is when the fetus in the womb of the mother is under pressure, psychological or psychologically. So when the child is born, the energy which is put into the kidneys and into the brain filters or changes a parameter inside the body, which leads in the later stages to misfunctions, or what you call as a diabetic. If you follow any even diabetic 2, is caused through psychological pressures. When it's psychological pressure, you get diabetic. When it's physical pressure, you get high blood pressure. And at the same time, when it's a mixture of the two, you get cholesterol. Because you understood how cholesterol is created. It's amino acid in conjunction with, as you see, the GANS. You create a condition in the wall of your blood vessels, and that leads with the solidification of the matter inside the in the blood vessels, and it leads to what you call into cholesterol. Now we understand the full process. When you are physical pressure, physically cannot accept, you end up with high blood pressure. When it's a psychological pressure or not accepting it, it leads to diabetic. And diabetic 1 is when the mother at the point of pregnancy, especially in the final stages of 6 to 8 weeks, is under psychological pressure, or the child feels in the womb of the mother is threatened by his birth, that he might not be born, because now he has control of his own life. Diabetic, if the doctors research deep into it, diabetic 1 is associated with the passage through the final stage from the mother into life. When the passage is too tight, the pressure comes that the child in the passage gets the feeling of will not be born, the fear, the energy which puts in to make sure it will survive the passage creates a shortage in the body that later on we see it as diabetic. You find, if you go into the detail of the structure of the birth, the children which have the umbilical cord tightened around their neck at the time of birth, majority of them at the age of 12, when it comes to the time 11, 12, when they go from a girl, especially girls for example, from a little girl to a woman through puberty, and they don't want to go through that change, you get diabetic functions showing itself. Because it's another process of change of survival. If the mother's life through a stress, fighting in the house, goes to the point that the mother wishes or puts the pressure on the womb that I wish the child wasn't there, I could do something else, and she's honest to write what she's done, you'll find out the child become diabetic 1. Then diabetic 2 comes through the emotional strength later on. That's why we say diabetic 2 at the ages when you're grown up or you become adult. Because then your emotional energies cannot be processed by the kidneys. And the pressure, what we call plasmatic gravitational pressure in the kidney, does not allow the conversion. And then you end up with all the insulins and everything else which goes with it, and the other organs and the brain parts of the body, what we call glands, come into operation to do all sorts of things. We have seen 40% reduction in the use of insulin within 2 weeks. When, through the system we developed, we can handle the emotional part of the brain. And we've seen up to 80% reduction over 12 months. But if the anxiety and the point of the stress comes back in, you see an increase, and then as normal. We have had cases with the COPD where after a while, because when you have a COPD, you're psychologically always under pressure that you die, and you don't want to accept the death through that pressure. Most of these conditions leads to a diabetic and use of insulin, and we've seen that after 4 or 5 months they even forget they have an insulin, what do you call it, injections. And even doctors, when they measured it, there is no need for it because everything is eradicated, because now psychologically they see the process they use with us as a salvage for the life, that this life is saved, so the insulin use just disappears. We had a number of cases like this. And it's literally what we call pressure is gravitational magnetic, it's a plasmatic pressure, not the pressure as you consider it with pumping. And that pressure comes because different composition and strength are released by the emotional part of the brain, which cannot be used, or there is no filtering for it in the kidney, the same as what you call the CO. And that build-up of pressure does not allow certain conversions, and then the other part of the organs of the body have to accommodate for what we use the insulin balance. Next question. We can go home now. There's no questions.
I don't have too much on the live stream right now. There was a question, can we extract carbon monoxide using the CO2 kits but with different metals?
No, unfortunately. In a way, yes, possible, but it has to be done in a different way.
if you used a concentrated carbon monoxide environment to start with, you might be able to pull it easier into the solution?
No, it has a different gravitational magnetic field. It has a 28, not 42.
So they're saying by using different metals in the kit, could one?
In a way, yes, you can. This is part of the extraction technology. You can do it.
There's
Now in
also people convert the carbon monoxide to usable fuels now is the idea too through certain processes
you have
using
the
oxide.
GANS. You have the GANS material to be able to convert it. If you convert it, you can do what you like with it. It's a much powerful but weaker chain than what do you call it? Sugar bond, CH bond. The reason for it is that both of the C and O originally were created from nitrogen in the upper atmosphere of the Earth. So they have a common bond. And that's why once you get them together, you can't break them. Because the common bond in the energy transfer, one is, you actually create nitrogen. When you put a balanced position, you have a what you call a nitrogen in between. You have a carbon 12, nitrogen 14, and oxygen 16. And that's why the bond, gravitational magnetic field bond is so strong, because you can break it. It's very easy to break it. All you need to do is to add a nitrogen or a hydrogen into the system. But you can extract it in a very easy way. Any other question?
Anything on the Skype call or the GoToMeeting?
I got a question.
Good morning.
Like Brett.
Good morning.
It is like Brett.
Yes, it is. A couple weeks ago, I started feeling the energy, on my backside where the lungs are, either the left or right, and then also in the kidney regions. It can be one going off or the other, two of them going off together, and it's becoming more and more frequent. And even while I sleep, I feel it. Why is it happening so often now?
What? What did you say? How was that? No, it's okay. Armin said something. I think he knew the problem.
Okay.
He heard it before I do. Can you explain your condition again?
No, I'll be sitting in a chair watching TV or sleeping, and I'll feel an energy release. It's on my backside, either the right or left lung or in the kidney regions. And it's becoming more frequent. And I never felt that before.
I don't know.
Okay.
We got the cash Spanish knowledge seekers calling us. We have to decline. We have to decline them. Can you hear us? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you, Mr. Cash. Yeah, we're just trying to get.
I don't know when you get that energy.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, the Spanish group are waiting. They're a very eager group. They don't want to wait another 5 minutes. If you feel, I cannot because I don't have all the details. I cannot tell you why and how. But Armin apparently knows, but we'll find out afterwards and we'll let you know. In reality, if you feel the energy in your lung and your kidneys, is part of the same. What is gathered in one place has to be released by somewhere else. But it depends, do you feel dizzy or do you feel any emotional difference?
I don't feel dizzy or anything. I just feel the energy release and it just relaxed.
I don't know. I cannot explain it.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions, or do we close for the Spanish group?
I think that's good for now, and we can close for a few minutes here and open up into the Spanish workshop pretty much right away.
Okay, thanks very much. Thank you very much. We start in 5 minutes, yeah?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds
Okay,
good.
that's good. Okay, that's very much. Thank you very much indeed. Thanks for your help. Thank you, Elia.
Yes,
Bye.
many thanks to Dr. Elia Kostova and Mr. Kesh for today's health teaching workshop. Thank you, everybody, for attending.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye.
We're off to yet another workshop.